This is either a bad idea or a really bad idea. I'm stuck behind the tractor. Flipping farmers, what they like. I don't know if that made a whole lot of sense, but I tried to make it make sense. Got a wee party of cows following me this morning. Morning, Holly. What a bee. Big breakdown. It's the drill working there. Good morning. As you can see, it's a bit sleety and snowy. I think there's a bit more snow up at yard too. We're just heading there. So we'll see what's up there because it's slightly higher. A wee bit of a covering here. Not much. Just a wee drizzle of snow. So thank you anyone who's come over for a cami, the sheep game, and subscribed. If you're not subscribed, then subscribe. Is that backwards for you? No, that'll be forwards for you. For me, that's backwards when I look at the screen. Cheers for coming over. We're a mixed arable farm. We've got some fields over there. We've got some pigs, they're over there. We've got some bulls, they're over there. We've got some cows along at yard number 1. This is yard number 2. There's a farm shop at yard number 1. There's a few other bits and bobs going on as well. So that's what I cover. 5 videos a week. Sunday to Thursday. One of my most regularly asked questions is about the dug. The name. Lulu the dug. She's a year old. She's a black lab. And she's a bit of a menace. Aren't you? This is Percy the bull. Meet him. He's been on the farm a bit less than a year. And that is Euro the bull that's been on the farm about a week. Job done up here. See the dog's taking herself for a walk. There's one car had managed to crash on the way here. It was lying in the ditch. It was getting pulled out by a rescue van, so I'll set up my camera to face forward all the way home. Oh, he's rescued it. Rescue truck on the right there. Basically, it'd come round this corner. It's a bit of a nasty corner even when it's not sleety and snowy. And the car had kept going right about now. I'm stuck behind the tractor. Flipping farmers, what they like. Jeez, oh. Hello, morning, coos. It's blowing an absolute hoolie out there, but you can just see there Kev, who's blowing out the engine bay or the radiators and whatnot in the forklift. They're fair story anyway. Kev's got a trailer in there just drying out, so we can get feed loaded up and head along to yard number 3 with that. It's obviously because it was that sleety, snowy stuff, which is all gone now. I was away at an agronomy meeting. I'll go through a couple of bits in a second, but Kev's just mixed all that. There'll now be minerals and protein source, which is the rapeseed pellets through it, as well as a couple of boxes over there that don't have minerals in it, and they're for the cows because I add in a different mineral content for the cows rather than the beef fattening cattle. Viewers that have come from the sheep game, this is wee Cammy the calf. It was born when Cammy visited, big Cammy, and wee Cammy is now, how many days? 14, 15 days old now, so 2 weeks old. Growing a good bit, a bit quicker, a bit harder to catch. There he is now, wee Cammy. Get the grab on. I'll bet these coos and they're needing fed as well. This grab is so much better since I extended the ram a wee bit. Put out cow, get out the road. Go on. Don't know why I'm doing that in here. She's not going to hear it. This feed's heading along to yard number 3 where the fattening bullocks are. We'll get this trailer filled up, shift it along to yard number 3. Gap that I'm not going to fit through. plans have changed. That trailer load of feed we're not going to take along the road today because it's blown a hoolie and it'll just end up going everywhere. So we'll take it along tomorrow. The weather's to look a bit better, or less windy anyway tomorrow. Just shifted these spud boxes into here because we need to paint them. During the sunflowers when we had to close down, this close sign was quickly painted. Anyway, this is getting painted over with this car because it's all to do with a new sign we're needing. So this whole box is getting painted. Then on the weekend someone's coming to put nice things on it because I'm not much use for a paintbrush. I can do a block colour, but artsy stuff, not my expertise. Load of wheat just heading out anytime soon. The lorry just coming. Right, ready for this lorry of wheat coming. It's not arrived yet, so in the meantime, so I'm going to use this wee whiteboard because this morning we had an agronomy meeting. Dad usually goes to them. I usually sometimes tag along with him, but he's away, so I went instead of him this time. And I'll explain a couple of things on here. Okay, so first of all, urea. This is what we spread onto the crops. One of the compounds we spread, urea, which is 46% nitrogen. The rest is just like a packing compound to be able to spread it. So 46% nitrogen, all those bags. What the nitrogen does, it is soaked up by the plants in order to produce chlorophyll, which helps soak up light and thus grow. That's what we want, lots of growth, so therefore we put nitrogen onto the fields where we want the growth. There was a wee bit of discussion on nitrogen dose rates versus the actual cost of the nitrogen, because nitrogen has gone up drastically. So I'll show you a wee graph here. I like graphs that explain stuff simply and easily. Right, so this is nitrogen cost. So the price of nitrogen here, and then we've got time here. So roughly the price of nitrogen in the last year or so has gone like this. So this is very rough, there's obviously irregularities in the graph, but this is £700-ish for urea, which is 46% nitrogen, and down here where it started is within a range of £150 to £200 for a tonne. It's still justifiable to grow a crop of, let's say, wheat. Still justifiable because the price of the commodity has gone up quite a bit as well. So it's followed the graph, not as drastically, but it has gone up a significant amount. So let's get rid of that. So nitrogen is directly linked to yield. So there's a graph here, let's show here. Let's call this nitrogen application from 0%, 50, 80, 100, and 120%. So this is nitrogen application as a percentage of normal dose rates. And then on the left here, we've got yield. So the resultant yield from what nitrogen goes onto the crop. So let's call this a crop of winter barley. So there's key points in the graph. Here, 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 and here. So the key points in the graph are these X points. So I'll just join it all up. So I'll go through each of these 4 points. So if we apply as normal, which would be 100% of the nitrogen dose rate, so that's a normal year. So if you look over here, this is the 20% mark. And if you draw that up to there and the 0% mark, that line there is your difference in yield that you get for the first 20%, which is quite a lot. You then move up to likes of 80 to 100%, and your return on yield is drastically reduced up there. Then you go 100% to 120%, it's reduced even further, where you're just getting a tiny marginal gain. So that's where the price comes in. Okay, so now I've gone through the graph. You can basically see where the price is now coming into play more, because at 150 to 200 pounds a tonne for urea, 80 to 100%, that 20% difference costs you this much, and it'll return you that much, okay? But now, that 20% costs 3.5 times more, and the return you get in the winter barley, you're not getting that back. So at £700 a tonne for urea, that isn't justifiable to go up to 100% dose rate. So you drop down to 80, but then you've still got to take into account 50 to 80. Would you just put on 50% instead of 80%? You'd save 30% of the cost of the nitrogen? No, because you're losing that whole chunk of yield. You're losing loads of yield if you drop down to 50%. So somewhere in that region of 80%, these are all rough estimates, but somewhere in that region of 80% is optimum if prices of nitrogen are at £700 a tonne for urea. We're actually very fortunate. CMG buy a lot of our fertiliser for us. We basically put at the start of the season how much we're going to need for the year, and they buy it all for us and we pay the bill at the end. And they managed to get in early and get a price that is pretty reasonable on today's prices. So we can justify going up quite a bit. But if you're buying your nitrogen today, which next year we're probably going to be buying at £700, don't think it's going to come back. We're going to be looking at that 80% mark to justify spreading £700 urea. I don't know if that made a whole lot of sense, but I tried to make it make sense. We did look at a lot of other things, just going through basically each individual crop and how they're looking, but the general consensus is crops are looking really well. They're well on because it's been a really mild winter, and they're kicking on a bit now. As soon as we can get on to spread fertiliser on the 16th of February, we're allowed to get on to spread that. We need to get moving with that, get an early bit of nitrogen on, get things moving, because the likes of the winter barley is starting to yellow up a bit. It's such a big crop, it's soaked up all the nutrients that are kicking about, and it's needing a wee boost to get moving. We were told we need to get in and buy our glyphosate early. Thinks there's going to be a shortage. Well, there is a shortage, so get in and get that early, as well as a couple of other things we need to make sure and just get sorted out in the next week or so we've got them ready to go when we need them, because there's going to be supply issues come when they're needed. So that's Scottish Agronomy we're with. You basically pay a fee per acre of land you're farming. They basically look into a lot of aspects of cereal crop and do loads of trials on crops and different chemicals, how they work, how they act, and put all the data together to suggest and advise how we want to grow our crops. It's arrived! Better go and load it, he'll be waiting for me. On to the new shed. How do you actually say that make of trailers? Fruhauf. Fruhauf. I mean, is it German? Probably. Tell you what, this is either a bad idea or a really bad idea. Wish me luck. Glad that was in here. I'm not putting it back on anyway. Put it there. Job done. Like and subscribe. See you tomorrow.
Will you dare to